What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bommarito Automotive Group. Bommarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bommarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bommarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show. St. Louis, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the STL Bucket List Show. We had a very special guest today. Hot dogs, rock and roll, fitness. We had the Steve Ewing on the podcast today. We didn't only just talk about music and hospitality. We got to talk about relationships, growing, entrepreneurship, younger days, and of course, hear some of his favorite STL bucket list spots in St. Louis. I can't wait for you guys to check out the full episode. If you liked it, we don't say this often, but please just share it on social media. We're a completely organic show, and we rely on the people, places, and events that make St. Louis special. So thanks for tuning in. For 50 years, Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics has been proudly serving the vibrant St. Louis community. As a family-owned and operated practice since day one, the commitment to excellence and personalized care runs deep. They believe in giving back to the wonderful people of St. Louis who have entrusted them with their smiles. Step into the 5 locations across St. Louis with modern offices equipped with the latest orthodontic technology. Their 3 amazing doctors are dedicated to providing top-notch, innovative treatments tailored just for you. Join us in celebrating 50 years with Bankhead and Firth Orthodontics, where your family becomes a part of theirs. Schedule your free consultation today and let them help you achieve the confident, gorgeous smile that you deserve. Because in St. Louis, your smile is your legacy.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on, they'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home, yeah.
What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. My wife, Marissa, still on maternity leave. She's actually coming back next week. Our guest is a little bit upset she wasn't here today, so
I get it.
Hey, it's a grind, but I know you guys have been asking. A lot of people have been DMing us and messaging, when's Marissa coming back? Like, they don't want to listen to me. So, you know, that's just how it goes. But I got a entrepreneur, rock star, hospitality, fitness junkie, really somebody with many passions in the studio. So, Steve, I want to thank you for coming in today.
Oh, man, thanks for having me. This is awesome. It's real cool to be on the show.
Absolutely. So I read a little bio on your website. I want to read it to the fans that are listening, and then I want you to kind of dissect it and what that means to you. So
sweet. Yeah.
I'm gonna read it here. So basically, Steve is a St. Louis-based musician, best known as the golden voice behind the 7-piece powerhouse, The Urge. The Urge was formed in high school in the late 80s. I know that was a long time ago, guys, for listening here. A mix of reggae, hip-hop, and punk, and a sonic shockwave through the Midwest music scene that can still be felt today. I know you guys are still doing a ton of shows. After 4 independent label releases, they were picked up by Immortal / Epic label, home to artists like Korn and Incubus, and also released 3 albums of your own. Today, you continue to play an active role in The Urge, your own band, the duo, Master Blaster, own and operate Steve's Hot Dogs, involved in hospitality. You've been featured on Food Network, Travel Channel, Cooking Channel, and I just saw you did a fitness show.
Yeah.
So tell me what all that means. I mean, I know that's a big bio of a lot of things that you do, and going back to the 80s. So it seems like music was your passion and still is.
Music is and was definitely my passion.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, honestly, I was an athlete. So like in high school, sports was my passion.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along that, I figured out that I had a voice and I could sing, and I had a really great teacher that helped me nourish that passion. So after I got out of high school, actually I was in the Urge in high school. I wanted to be in a rock band. So we started that thing. I was probably like 17.
Wow.
in high school.
Were
Yeah.
they guys that went to school with you or just guys in the area?
They were guys that were at the same school, but they were older than I was.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was a baby.
Mm-hmm.
But I was just super passionate about bands. You know, I mean, I really wanted to be in a band. I wanted to be in a rock band in particular.
Mm-hmm.
And this was my opportunity. So I jumped on it, and some really cool guys that felt the same way I did.
Yeah.
So we kind of rode that wave of just like, we don't care. You know, like we were talking about earlier, how our parents are like, okay, you ready to go to college? You ready to do all this, whatever? So
Exactly.
all of us kind of pretended like we were going to go to college
Yeah.
for a little while. But then really shortly after that, we hit the road in a van and just fell in love with it. And
while you were like still in your teens, were you like what, 18, 19?
I was about 19 at that point. Yep.
So how has music changed? Because now, you know, music obviously is huge. We can stream it and all that. So you've been through all of it, you know, where you used to sell CDs and then, you know, shows were now it seems like with streaming, it hurt music. So how did you guys shift during that?
Well, I can tell you, we were pretty lucky to be blowing up at the height of like the CD era.
Yeah.
Because there was a lot of money being made at that point. You know, a CD was not a very expensive thing to make. You can put it out there and you could sell it for $20 at one point.
Yeah, I remember.
So it was a good time for us at retail and all that. When 2000 came along, we saw the decline in retail. It was pretty much disappearing like right in front of our eyes.
And those were because of the websites like LimeWire and Napster and all those.
Napster and all that kind of stuff. I think you saw a shift because the cost of buying music was really high. Yeah. And then all of a sudden you could just get it for free. So it was like retail was just dying right in front of our eyes. So it was like labels were downsizing the whole thing. So yeah, that was the beginning of it. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. So you were a musician, obviously worked other jobs, but I'm really curious on how you mold music because you're still very active. I see you doing shows all the time, entrepreneurship, fitness, and hospitality all in one. I mean, and this word balance, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs about. There's no such thing as balance. You know, there's
no balance.
So explain how you mold those together.
Yep. So I have a philosophy, which is basically there is no balance. Like I don't go for balance. I just find something that I'm passionate about and I get married to it and I just go all in on it. You know, so like with music, I've done that my entire life. I just go all in on it. And when I started the food game, I wanted just to have another side gig to feed people while we're doing shows. Like, okay, there's no food out here at these shows, so maybe I'll just go with some of this mobile food thing, whatever, and give it a shot.
Exactly.
Well, once I got in it, I got married to it, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do this. So that's kind of how that happened. It's like once I get started with something, I just make up my mind that I'm going to just.
And same with fitness. Were you all? I know you're into fitness heavy now. You said you were an athlete, but even like in the band, were you always working out, or did that come up later on?
That was always working out. I probably had like a couple of years after high school where I just like, just let it go.
Yeah, partied.
But yes, but for the most part, throughout all of my music career, being fit was important. You know, as the lead singer too, it's important to be fit as the front guy too. Yeah. And I just enjoy working out
and for even just being able to still do what you do.
Correct.
A lot of guys in their 50s that didn't take care of themselves couldn't get up on stage or travel or drive around or work 60-hour weeks like you can now.
That's correct. That's very correct. Yeah.
The fitness side of it, not only do you look better, but it's also you feel better, you sing better, your voice is better. Like there's a lot more that goes into it.
That's big time. Because singing is more difficult now than it was then. Yeah. And I do it, but it takes more discipline and preparation on it. Yeah. So like I really have to do my warm-ups now like I didn't have to do before. Yeah. And
staying up late, man.
And staying up late. Different. Yeah. It's just different. Yes.
So when did you start the hot dog? So you were doing it, you just had like a little stand outside of shows, or like some of the venues just let you pop up out front and you would sing and perform and have somebody out there working?
Yeah, so that was strange because I remember playing some bars in the St. Charles Main Street area. And it was, back then it was crazy, right? Oh, yeah. But there was no food on the street. So I told my guitar player, I'm going to buy a cart. I'm going to put a cart out here. Yeah. And so I actually bought one. I just went and bought one. And so when I went out to St. Charles, they didn't even have an ordinance for it. Like it wasn't even like you couldn't sell hot dogs on the street.
They didn't have a law for it.
They didn't even have a law or
Yeah.
for it or against it.
Yeah.
So we brought it out there a couple times until the cops like
Mhm.
shut it down. But I actually just tagged it on the back of my vehicle that had all the music gear in it, and just took it to some other shows with me in other places. And it was just kind of the same thing.
Yeah.
Where they didn't really have laws for it on the street, so we just pulled it up anyway and
Yeah.
sold a ton of food.
Mhm.
So after a while, I figured out I needed to have a shop
Mhm.
in the city. So I basically just bugged a friend of mine, Emily Hogaboom, had a space,
Mhm.
and I got the feeling she was ready to leave, so I just kept bothering her. It's like, I'll take the lease when you're ready to go. And so I just kept bothering her. And she was like, "You want to move in here?" I'm like, "Yep."
What year was that?
That was 2011.
2011.
So 2010, I kind of started putting a bug in her ear,
Mhm.
and then we got the keys to the place in 2011. Yeah.
So how this is so funny because I had Jason Bachman, who I know you know, and
Oh,
he,
yeah.
he had a hot dog cart back
Sure
in the
did,
day, and it kind of melded into different businesses that he's in. But
Mhm.
something as simple as a $1 hot dog or whatever it was at the
Sure,
beginning
yeah.
is the learning the business of it. One of the things I read about you and doing research is even in music, you really helped your band learn the business side of it. It wasn't just about playing music; it was about getting booked for shows and having
Yeah.
cash flow coming in. So
Yep.
how did being a music entrepreneur help you become a hot dog salesman at that point? I mean, was it the
Well-
people? Was it the personality?
Oh, that's one thing the Urge always did is right out of the box. We looked at our band as more than just a band. We looked at it as a business.
Exactly.
So immediately we looked at it as a business. So we went out and worked it that way. So marketing was a big part of it.
Mhm.
We didn't have a lot of money, so we did a lot of guerrilla marketing
Mhm.
in St. Louis and the region. So we just worked really hard
Yeah.
on whatever we could marketing wise in a
Mhm.
region, and we just got in a van and played over and over and over again.
Mhm.
So when I opened Steve's Hot Dogs, in fact, when I got the cart, I was
Mhm.
looking for ways to get the word out about it. How do I market this? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we had
You're like, I used to sell CDs. Now I'm trying to peddle hot dogs.
yes,
You know.
exactly. We had kind of an emerging social media thing happening. I already had a pretty good following back when it was MySpace, and then
Yeah.
like Facebook was coming along.
Uh-huh.
So I'm like, how do I get this going? And this was before Twitter, so I was actually doing a ton of text-based marketing.
Yeah.
For street stuff, I was doing a ton. I was using QR codes even back then.
Oh, really?
Yep, just
Wow.
to try to get people to recognize where I was going to be at.
Yeah.
So man, when Facebook like came into its own,
Mm-hmm.
it was awesome.
It's still a big part of your. I know Instagram's kind of huge, but your Facebook fans are
It
still
was
loyal. I mean,
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
That was back in the day where you could post a picture of a hot dog and there'd be like 50,000 people would see it in an area. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it was pretty cool.
And it was just all free.
It was
'cause you-
free, yeah.
Yeah, just free marketing.
Yep.
And then, so that was 2010. So you got a space 2011, but you guys used to have that really small little space, right?
Yeah, the little spot over on the hill.
Yeah.
It was interesting because like I said, I bought all the equipment there with basically no money.
Yeah.
So we grabbed up all the little equipment I could get, and so we couldn't really build a kitchen in the place because it wasn't built for a kitchen. So we cooked the food outside.
Mm-hmm.
We actually had a grill outside. We'd cook it, bring the food inside,
Right.
and so the business was literally listed as a deli.
Yeah.
It wasn't even listed as a restaurant. It was listed as a deli because you technically cooked the
Because there
food
was no hot
outside.
kitchens
There was no
equipment.
hot kitchen in there.
Yeah.
So so we got away with that for a while, and
Mhm.
and I learned a lot in that little space. Just about registering a business. I learned about really getting to become a part of your community.
Mhm.
Wherever you do open a business, it's super important to become a part of the actual community.
Exactly.
Like make sure you get to know everybody in that community. So I
Mhm.
learned a lot.
Especially in St. Louis, and it's a word of mouth city.
Yeah.
We're a very small city, but a very big city as far as like how size goes. I mean, there's 3 million people in the metro, but everybody seems to know everybody. I mean, you know everybody in
they
town.
get to know anybody in an industry. Period. You
Yeah.
get to know everyone. So yeah.
So I have a couple questions for my personal thing. So I started my business while dating my girlfriend, then we got married, and she's stuck with me while I've been doing all these ups and downs.
Yeah.
Let's talk about your family a little bit, your wife, and
That's how
and
my
stuff.
wife is. We've been together for 27 years.
27. So what was
Yep,
that?
this is gonna be our
1997 or so? 1996.
probably before that, probably like 95.
So she fell in love with you. Tell me about the love story. Did she fall in love with you because of the band?
Not necessarily. She didn't know who the band was.
Yeah.
Which was attractive to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She was from Wisconsin. She was here finishing grad school,
Mm-hmm.
and that's how we met. She moved here to live with her mom while she was at Fontbonne,
Yeah.
and we met on a band night out. We went out.
Yeah.
That's how we would empty the bank account at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And
And go all out.
and just go crazy. Yeah.
All the profits, whatever was left, sometimes more than less.
We'd empty the touring account out, basically.
Yeah.
So so I met her on one of those nights, and I asked her out, and she said no, which was like, oh, okay, cool. So then I just pursued,
Mm-hmm.
and then we eventually got together. She finished grad school, and then we moved in pretty much like
Mm-hmm.
shortly after that. Like I
Wow.
was touring at the time.
Yeah.
With the Urge, we were knee deep in a pretty long tour.
So it's something that my wife talks about, and she's involved in some of the stuff that we do, but it's the hours that I'm putting in, and I wasn't traveling like you are,
Mhm.
but that's hard, to
Yeah.
build a relationship that way,
It's hard.
especially as a traveling musician.
Yep.
So she's been your rock, and now she's seen you start these other businesses.
Yeah.
I mean, how does she support you, and and then having a family, and that's a
Yeah.
whole nother, because you said your daughter's almost in high school, so it's like you were starting the other businesses right when they were younger, and
Yep.
so that just gets even harder and harder. And I'm dealing with that right now with the
Oh, yeah.
4-month-old.
So I
It's
started-
time is a key.
It is. And even before Madeline was born,
Mhm.
we moved back to we were living in LA for a while.
Okay.
We moved back to St. Louis, and then when Madeline was born, I immediately went into playing a lot,
Mhm.
like a couple hundred shows a year.
Yeah.
Just in the region, So
Right. Just as much
so
as you could go,
just as
everywhere.
much, yeah.
Road. Yep.
just staying busy. And that was the way I was making money. And she's a speech therapist, so she had her thing.
Mm-hmm.
So we kind of, our relationship began
Mm-hmm.
kind of like that.
Yeah.
She had her thing, I had my thing. We're both kind of busy, and so we're kind of familiar with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's tough. It's,
Mhm.
it's not easy.
Right.
But we're familiar with it, and she's the best. Like at raising Madeline, like when
Mhm.
I'm busy,
Mhm.
she's like an awesome mom. Whatever,
Mm-hmm.
she kills it, and she's also the best at her job. She's a speech therapist, and she's been in the St. Louis City School District for, gosh, over 20 years.
Wow. So
So
really
she's
just been
just
able to
like-
do good work.
She does really good work. She cares about her kids,
Mhm.
and the parents and stuff. So she's
So it's just finding stuff that you're passionate about, and that's the thing. It's not like you guys get off at 4 every day and you just go home together like some other lives, but it's just
Yeah.
different now, and it's cool to be able to build a neighborhood business now, because I know you guys live in the area too. Of
Yep.
Like it's just a lot different than the show, man. The road takes it out of you.
It does take a lot out of you. Yep, and it is different. You are essentially coming home every night, though.
Yeah.
So even though the schedule's erratic and a little crazy, you still are coming home. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to deal with, and I always ask that balance question. And everybody that I've had on the show they said balance is bullshit, because there's no such thing as
There
balance.
is no such thing.
You have
yeah.
to kind of you look at the scale, and it's some days you're going to be giving 99% of your energy to Steve's Hot Dogs, but
Yeah.
then maybe the next week you're giving it to your daughter.
That's
and you're giving
correct.
100% of you're like, hey, I'm 100% I'm giving it
That
to
is
your wife.
100% correct right there.
And
It's
it
like-
never works out. Like, oh, it's like I worked for 8 hours here. I'm going to be at home for 4 hours, and then I'm going to be working on my music for 2 hours, and it's
Yeah.
all structured. And now with like these digital calendars, it causes so much, like you can't get away from
you
it.
can't really get away.
Yeah, so like
Yeah.
you have now your fans are talking to you all the time. It used to be you saw them every month when you would do a show
Correct.
on Main Street. You'd be like, oh, it's like now they're like texting you.
I'm
Like, hey.
extremely accessible. Yes.
Yeah, so which is a great thing for
Yeah.
the music business, and I think that people that do it right, independent musicians, I know there's guys that I follow now. It's like you can have a smaller group of fans and actually be almost more successful than somebody that has millions of
can.
streams.
Yep. I think it's important to make sure you engage with those people right there in that circle.
There's a guy that he was Mike Study, he's a rapper, and then now he has a group called like Only Mikes, and it's like this group that people pay a monthly membership, and he sends them their
cool.
music. They pay $10 a month. He
That's
sends them
awesome.
music. He sends them all the unreleased stuff. He has a podcast that only goes to his fans.
That's kick-ass.
So $10 a month. I mean, you got 10,000 fans.
lot.
That's all you need.
That's a lot.
You
Yeah.
know, but his streams aren't like, you wouldn't know he's huge by looking at his
Right.
YouTube numbers. His YouTube may have 100 likes on it or whatever it might be, but it's finding different ways. And I think it's the same with your business, Steve's Hot Dogs, because Steve's Hot Dogs grow it as the cart and then the shop. And then, you know, we went through 2020. You thought it was over. So I want to talk about that because was there a moment where you're like, it's over?
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah.
Because I remember you put a call out or something happened.
Yeah.
There was something that was going on.
We did close for temporarily.
Yeah.
2020 was before 2020. 2019,
Mm-hmm.
I was just drowning because I had 2 locations.
Mm-hmm.
I had the Hill and I
forgot
had Tower
about-
Grove East.
I forgot you had both of those at the same
Yeah, I
time.
had them both going at the
Yeah.
same time, and I really was trying to run them both on my own. I had managers at each location.
Yeah.
But I was really trying to run both
Mm-hmm.
locations and still have a schedule of over 100 shows a year.
Yeah.
So it became a little overwhelming, and
Because you just weren't there. You couldn't go
wasn't
save
there.
the restaurant because you were out. You know?
that's correct. And you know, you need to put 100% effort into it if you're gonna, especially bringing something back.
Yeah.
You need to be there. So, I told Danny, who I told you before.
Yeah.
She had been working with me as a consultant for years. In fact, she ran my crowdfunding campaign to open
Mm-hmm.
the second location.
Yeah.
She killed it too. So
Yeah. She's amazing.
I called her. I was like, "Hey, can you write the press release? 'Cause I'm gonna close. I'm ready to.
And you're like, I want to just get ahead of it and just do it in the right way.
Yep, I'm ready to just go full time, back to being a full time musician, and just can you write the press release?" And she's like, "Okay, I'll do that, but let's see what happens after a week. Let's just see."
She's like, let's just wait it out.
Yeah. Let's see what happens after a week after I do
Because she was
this.
bought in working with you. She's like, I don't want to give this up either. She felt
No,
like she was part of it too.
I think she,
Yeah.
and she was working on building her marketing company
Yep.
as well through the crowdfunding campaign.
Mhm.
So she put a lot into it already. So that week that we announced, we had beyond record sales. I mean, it was just
So you announced like, hey, we're closing.
we're closing,
But then you're like, everybody come out.
yeah,
You know?
we're closing a week from now. Everybody come on out, and literally the whole city came out.
Mhm.
And I don't know what our sales were. I don't know, it was like $50,000-$60,000 in a week
Mhm.
for them, which was a lot for us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I get it. I understand now that there is actual
People that rely on
that
us.
care,
Yeah.
and really this is a part of the community. So she's like, well, my husband and I, Marcus, we would like to buy in if you're still wanting to like do this.
Mhm.
And so it was nice because it kind of lit a fire back under me.
Mhm.
Under this, the community did that, they did that,
Yeah.
and COVID came, and
So this was late 2019.
2019.
And you're like, we got through it. Now I'm bringing on
Here we
partners.
go. Yes. And COVID came,
Yeah.
and it was a curse and a blessing at the same time. The curse was it was COVID.
Yeah.
The world was just a mess, and then the blessing was I couldn't play music anymore, so I could just put 100% of my effort
Yeah.
into
It made you stop. It was the
Yep.
first time in what, 20? It was the first time ever that you
Yep.
just didn't play
I
music for a
couldn't
little
play
bit.
music, so I was able to put 100% of my time
Yeah.
and love and effort into Steve's Hot Dogs,
Mhm.
and so we got it back going, and through COVID, technology was on our side. We've always been kind of
Mhm.
on top of tech,
Yeah.
and it was on our side. Like the
Mhm.
fact that we
Fast
were
casual,
Yeah.
order ahead, pick
Big
up.
time,
A lot of
yeah.
people didn't have that. They tried to get it set up during. and
we
it
were
was
right
hard.
on top of it. So
Yeah.
that was a blessing for us. Yeah.
So you mentioned bringing on partners. So, and I've met Danny and Marcus, amazing people, hard workers, smart. But, there's always that thing of bringing on partners, but sometimes it's the best thing ever. You'd rather, because then you rely on people's talents that are way outside of your talents,
You have
or
to.
organizational skills or things that
Yep.
they probably came in and tell us about that moment because they came in and probably helped you in areas that you didn't even know you needed help in.
Sure. and I had some offers in the past to partner up with investors and other
Mhm.
restaurateurs and other groups, and I just felt like I didn't want to give up any
Of your hard work. Yeah.
that and the cool vibe that we had. I felt maybe we would lose some of that too.
Yeah. You didn't want to go mainstream with it.
Yeah. So I declined, and I think I probably would have been just fine if I just would have had one small location.
Yeah.
but I'm like, I need to expand. And so,
Yeah.
when you do that, you need to take on some help
Hmm.
in one way or another, and I think finding a good partner is the way to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And now look at you guys. I mean, you guys
Yeah.
have scaled. The soccer stadium stuff was amazing. I mean,
Yep.
that was another one of those omens that you had with like, man, this many people really like us. Because it's hard when you're in the day to day and you're looking at sales and you're like, man, does anybody even know we're still here?
Yeah.
And then you put out a call on social media and you're the #1 voted restaurant in St. Louis.
Yep.
You're at the Battlehawk Stadium and Del Mar Maker District,
Yep.
which by the time this episode comes out in a couple weeks, that'll be. Who would have thought there's this much of a need for hot dogs, man?
Well, it is
and burgers.
Hot dogs are. I did do my homework.
Okay.
Out of the box, but hot dogs, at least at the time, were the most consumed American food.
Yeah.
So like Americans consume shitloads of hot dogs. It's part of what we are. Like so.
Yeah. It means everybody growing up, especially in the Midwest, it's like my mom used to cut them up in little things and
Yeah,
put cheese
just
on them and melt it. And
all
then-
kinds of ways.
And now you guys are doing dogs that are super elevated. But like you look at the Cardinals game, I mean, you can't go to the Cardinals game without getting a hot dog. The
No,
Mets
yeah.
out in New York did that hot dog day. Did you see that? It was they sold like 40,000 hot dogs in one day
Yeah,
because they made them $1. It was $1 dog day.
Yeah, hell yeah. We used to do our on hot dog days.
Mhm.
We used to do our hot dogs at half off,
Mhm.
and we would see just insanity
Yeah.
like every year. So yeah, so you do realize that people are into hot dogs.
It's
like-
cool seeing like the orders because like your team will send the orders now that we're helping you guys with some stuff, and they'll send the orders of what people do, and everybody has their own dog. That one story of that guy that got the dog broken down. I mean, seeing those stories of
I know it's
of
insane.
insane that he wanted his
Yeah.
mom's last meal to be that hot dog, but he wanted to put it together. So like that order, he said just nothing on it, and he's
Right,
like, just
yeah.
give them the materials.
That's pretty chilling.
It is, man. Like that made me stop in my tracks. Like I've seen some of the orders; they're goofy, they're funny, and
Mhm.
now we're doing all this other you guys do all this crazy stuff, but then when you get one moment like that or one Google review or email that comes through, and then that's what really like keeps you doing it. And that's what's so great about all the businesses that you're in. Music and hospitality are actually the same. You're taking care of the people that buy a ticket.
Yeah,
You're taking care of
totally are.
somebody that spends, if somebody brings their family there, they're spending $50-$60.
Yeah.
That could be a lot of money for that family to come out
Yep.
that night. And same with the concert. Concerts they're spending $100 to come see
They
you
are.
guys, and you got to put on a show.
And you're not only just selling the music or the food, but you're selling yourself,
Mhm.
and you're selling their involvement in what you do. You know what I mean? They feel like they're part of what you do. So
Yeah, the experience. And
Yeah.
and that's what I think, that everything kind of happens for a reason. And it's like social medias came in, your music, your brand represents you, I think, to a T. It's like with the shirts that you guys do, the beer collabs, the collabs that you guys do, I mean, all the stuff. So it's just it is really just taking care of it's all about the experience in any business, even our
Mhm.
business. It's in a marketing company. It's like you have to provide an experience for the people that pay you,
You do.
and it's a value exchange. Did I get a good value going to Steve's tonight? Did I feel good about what I bought? Was my wife happy? Were my kids happy? Did they have a good time? Was the comedy show? And like doing all these things, and all those things cost money and cost time and energy.
They do.
But it comes back to time. Is like, if your family's going to spend 3 hours with me on a Saturday, that's a lot of time.
Yes, it
They
is.
could go anywhere. There's a lot of great restaurants in St.
Yep,
Louis.
that's huge.
If you know Tecovas, you know that they make some of the best and most comfortable Western boots around. But what you might not know is that Tecovas has a store right here in St. Louis at Plaza Frontneck. Stop into their store and you'll find the finest handmade cowboy boots, jeans, belts, cowboy hats, and even apparel for both men and women. While you shop, enjoy complimentary drinks, boot shines, custom hat and boot branding, and more. Come visit the Tecovas store at Plaza Frontneck and let them help you find your new favorite pair of boots or your first pair of boots ever. Tecovas, don't go gently. But yeah, you guys have just been killing it. But giving back, it all comes back to giving back, because on your website and obviously on social media, you see all these things. But giving back's been huge for what you guys have done since the beginning. It seems like that's always been a focus for you.
Yep, like I said, I become immersed in every community that I go into.
Mhm.
So when we opened our first one on the hill, immediately we started working with the church at charity functions, just
Mhm.
becoming part of what. And in that neighborhood, the church was the center of everything,
Yeah.
still is, and so
Mhm.
that's how we reached out to people,
Mhm.
is through the church and community involvement there.
Yeah.
In Tower Grove East, when we moved over there, we just started basically just donating food.
Yeah.
And just we started having potlucks with the neighborhood,
Mhm.
like hosting events, hosting political events, all kinds of stuff, just to become part of the community. And when COVID hit, we had no choice but to start feeding people because people lost their jobs.
Yeah.
Kids weren't in school. Some kids depend on school for food. So at that point, it was like, well, we have no choice. This is our neighborhood. And we live really inside of a neighborhood. So we started taking care of folks that way. And then we were also able to attract some assistance from some larger groups on feeding people, on taking care of the community. So it's really, that's expanded as well.
And you'll continue to do that into Del Mar, and that's just a new market for you
Big
guys.
time, yes.
Because it's even though it's pretty close to where you're currently at, it's still a whole new audience. It's still a whole new group of people that you're going to be in Del Mar, on the Maker District, and be a part. I've talked to Doug. I've had Doug on the podcast, and his plans for that district. I mean, it's going to be special over there.
It's crazy. And inside
that space
of St.
is
Louis,
dope, dude.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's going to be a party over there. But yeah, I've learned that even 2 miles away, you're in a whole different world inside the same city.
Yep.
Different employees, different customers, different people will eat different things, and
Well, the same person that rides their bike to work in Tower Grove is not going to be the same person that rides their bike to work. And, it's just different. You got to cross, different parks, and right there by the Central West End, which is going to be super special. And then all of Kings Highway and everything, all the people in South City. But so we talked a little bit about the struggles, but what's the motivation? Because it comes to the point where I think that I struggle with this sometimes is like, how do you motivate yourself, whether it be working out, because that's hard, or working on the business, which is hard. But my wife always tells me, she's like, choose your hard,
Yes.
Not working out and being unhealthy is hard. Working out is hard. Having a successful business is hard.
Yep.
Not having a successful business is hard.
Exactly.
So how do you motivate? Are you a numbers guy? Are you a business guy? Or is it just, you're just passionate? If this makes me passionate, then I'm motivated.
I like to put something in front of me. Something that
So you're setting goals. Yeah.
Yep. So I like to have something in front of me. Like, in fact, I do like to work out, but I don't think I would keep myself in like really tip-top shape if I didn't feel like I had to
For the competition.
or if I had to because I have a string of dates on the road. You know what I mean? So I like having something in front of me. And same with the restaurant. It's like, okay, we're going to open a new location, or with business, it's like you need to grow. I don't know. I always say grow or die, and so that's kind of where my mindset was. We need to keep growing,
Exactly.
So I always like to have something in front of me.
Yeah, the motivation is key, and I think the goals, setting goals is great, but a lot of people will wait to start working out when the doctor tells them they have to.
Correct.
Or, so it's like preventative stuff, but yeah, it's like growing, because like you said, you could just be like, if things happened in a different way, you could still just be in that small shop on the hill, and you could still be doing 200 shows on the road. Like, life happens in crazy ways, and I think that all of that accumulates. But yeah, the motivation is tough because, especially when you're an entrepreneur or a musician, like sometimes the only person motivating is yourself.
Big time.
You don't have somebody keeping you accountable, and it's easy to just crawl up and just say, it's fine, it'll be okay. So the shows, man, the competitions, the fitness competitions, I mean, they keep you on your grind, man.
They do. You got no choice. You're about to get on stage with no clothes on, basically.
I had a bodybuilder on here, Marcus Seidel.
That's my coach.
Oh, is it? Yeah. He was just on our show a month ago.
He's awesome.
Marcus is a beast, man. He is an absolute tank. But he was telling me, so we went out. He called us on STL Bucket List, and he's like, "Hey, come check out my gym." He wanted us. We did a video for him. He posted it, and then I'm like, "Dude, come on the podcast," because he had a good story, and he's from St. Charles, kind of where I'm from too. And he was telling me, he's like, all these things of like what goes into bodybuilding. Now it's so popular. Everybody wants to be one.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to be one.
Yeah.
And it's not a glamorous career at all by any means.
No,
the 1%ers are doing good, but
there is no career. I mean,
it's just, you have to be passionate about it. So it's the thing that you have to fully do for yourself.
You do it for yourself.
Or to make your kids proud, or your wife proud, or just really you. You're just like, I'm doing this for me. And it's that third place, because it's like you have your band, you have your restaurant, but what's your third space? What's your third space? That's the gym for you.
The gym. Yeah.
But yeah, Marcus is a beast. I'll send you the link to that. You'll have to listen to it.
He's
so you go out to
so
2.0.
smart, too.
2.0, his gym's badass.
Yeah, so I don't even work out at his gym. I just go
For
every
consulting.
once in a while just for some check-ins.
Yeah.
But he and I work pretty much virtually. But
He's got the apps now and all the stuff now.
yep. He takes care of my nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
So the training part,
Yeah.
he's like, I'm not gonna worry about your training. You know what to do there.
Yeah.
But when you get closer to a show,
Yeah.
like you have no, you think your brain plays tricks on you. Put it that way.
Yeah.
You need another person looking at you and taking control of that. So that's what he does. He's really good at it.
So this is kind of a hard question, but so when you were working at Steve's, you were doing everything at one point. So if you had to do only one job at Steve's for the rest of your life, like this is your one job, what would it be? Would it be working the front? Would it be back in the back? Would it be,
that would be
serving
easier.
tables?
I would be the guy standing at the cash register.
That's it, all day. Yeah.
All day.
Yeah, just talking to people.
Just running my mouth. Yeah. But that drives all my workers crazy.
When you work, okay. So you'll still do that occasionally?
Oh yeah. If I'm working the register.
Yeah. Oh, because it's slow.
Everything slows down.
Yeah, and they're like, dude, this isn't our systems, bro.
But I love being there. So, but yes, I would do that.
I always ask people that because it's hard when you work so many different jobs to just pick one and just be like, oh, I would just work the cash register every day.
Yes.
No, that's funny, man. So what about St. Louis? I mean, it seems like St. Louis has really got behind you and inspired you. I mean, what inspires you about the city and why you guys choose to live and work and invest here?
It's my city. I grew up here.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Kirkwood, Rock Hill, and Webster Groves area. So that whole little area, and
where everybody seemed like they grew up over there.
Yes, we all kind of know each other. Yes, but I don't know. This is my city, and I've always felt, especially with music, I've been around a lot of other musicians from the bigger cities.
Yeah,
and I've always felt like St. Louis is kind of the underdog, and I just felt like that's what gives me the energy and the fight. Like, let's see what we can do here. Let's see what kind of noise this city can make. And so that's always been the thing, you know. So even with the Urge, when we went out on the road, we're like, we're the Urge. We're from St. Louis. You know what I mean? Like, we're representing our city.
Like kind of like that underground chip on your shoulder.
Yes.
And like we're gonna go tear shit up on the road and we're gonna make a name for ourselves.
Exactly it. Yep.
And you guys did, man. And those highs in music are probably like nothing else in the world. Like those highs you get from killing a show. I mean, what was the biggest show you guys have done?
Biggest show that we've played on. I think there was a big show we did in Atlanta. It was a big radio festival. Yeah. And it was us and Lenny Kravitz and
wow.
I think 311 was on that one and
yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of big ones on that one. It was huge,
yeah.
And that was great. Especially doing those radio festivals or shows like that, where you're kind of like the little guy,
and you're just part of something special, and you're just we're just here.
But you also have that fire, like you just want to kick everybody else's ass, just because you are the small guy. So it's like. I feel that way sometimes too.
And you guys have done some big ones in St. Louis. I mean, you guys have your shows that you always do. I had some of your guys that were on the band on the show, but it was forgot his name, but they were in El Monstero too.
El Monstero, yep.
Yeah.
There's John and there's Bill.
Bill, gray haired guy with the curly hair. He's kind of tall. Yeah, Bill was on here. We were drinking. I forgot what we were drinking. We were drinking like whiskey and mixed with energy drinks and. And then the other guy was in El Monte. They were promoting their show last summer, the big one they did but they told me about some shows that they've done in St. Louis and the fact that people just keep coming out.
They keep coming.
To come and same with you guys.
I tell people, and maybe it's like this in some other cities, but St. Louis is a hard city to crack.
Yeah.
But once you do crack the city, once people become part of what you do, they don't let go. You know what I mean? Like those are your people for life, which is pretty damn awesome.
So with your bands, I mean, are you going to play music for forever or what's
there's no reason not to.
Just to keep playing and as long as people keep having you out and
it's one of them things too where if you don't use it, you lose it.
Okay.
So like even after COVID, like after COVID was over, when they started doing music again, I came back from doing no shows to doing like 80, 90 shows. Yeah. And it was hard.
And you'll book any like small shows, big shows, private events, stuff like that.
Do a lot of private events.
Yeah. So weddings and stuff too.
Weddings, small venues. That's with the duo.
With the duo, yep.
With the band, we do a lot of festivals. And then I have this Stevie Wonder tribute tribute we put together about 3 years ago.
Okay, I think I
Just
saw
to
that.
do a
Yeah.
couple events, whatever, and then we started getting hired for some corporate events and
Yeah.
festivals and stuff. So,
Anytime it's music, you're like, let's
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
Let's go. It's the best when you can make, and I was a photographer. I still am a photographer, but the first time you actually get hired by somebody that doesn't know you
Yeah.
and they reach out and they say, hey, I saw your work on this thing. Like, can you come take pictures? It's like that best feeling is like, I'd rather make $1 taking pictures than $1 million at a
Yeah.
desk. You know,
Yeah.
it's that weird thing
It
of
totally is. Yeah.
being in it. So are you recording new music and stuff?
Yep. Always
Always.
trying.
Yeah.
So,
Are you writing a lot of your stuff then, since you're lead singer? Are you guys collabing on a lot of stuff?
with the Urge? It's very much a collaborative effort.
Mhm.
I still write pretty much all the lyrics and vocal parts.
But they're
and all that
writing
kind
a lot
stuff.
of the music, and then you're
But
kind of
the-
fitting the lyrics to what
That's
they're
correct,
writing.
Yeah,
Yep.
and it's always been that way.
Mhm.
So we're trying to put the finishing touches on a couple things, Urge wise.
Nice.
Hopefully by this year.
Yeah.
We need to put some music out. It's just been
Yeah.
hard to kind of get everybody.
Together. Well, everybody's got their own lives now, and it's different.
It's been really hard. so.
Families and
Yeah.
you know, I'm sure you got some grandparents in there now too, almost.
Almost. Yeah.
Almost.
Almost. I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah, man. Let's not talk about that yet. Maybe next episode we do in 5 years. But yeah, man, it's crazy how like you guys went from high school making music, but it's that thing, it's that camaraderie. It's the same with sports. A lot of the guys I used to play baseball with, we're still friends, and you see each other every couple
Oh,
months,
yeah.
and then you get together, and your
It's
wives
just
can't
like-
stand it because you're talking about
'Cause
stuff
you
that
just
used to
don't
happen.
Stop. Yeah.
And my wife's like, I don't really care what you guys did back then. I
Yeah.
don't want to know.
you don't want to know. It's great.
Man, writing and recording music's fun, man. And it's cool. That's what I think about the podcast. I know you're about to launch one yourself, and your book's coming out. So tell us about that.
So there's this photographer, Keith Brake,
Mhm.
who's awesome, super talented. And he'd been taking photos of us and other bands for a long time, but he doesn't get paid for it. Or at least he didn't then.
Mhm.
He just was passionate about taking photos.
He would just get a media pass to one of the shows.
Yep,
and
or he would somehow wiggle his way in.
sneak a
and,
camera in, because I know they can't bring cam. Sometimes you can't bring
so
camera.
he'd figure out how to get the shots. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times photos show up on social media, and I'll use them for stuff. And
Mhm.
so I've been using this Keith Brake photo for like a promo thing.
Mhm.
And he's like, that's my photo. I'm like, dude, this is awesome.
Like, this is my favorite photo.
Yes. And so then he showed me a bunch of other photos that he had taken of us that I had seen and didn't know it was him.
Yeah.
So I put two and two together. And so I'm like, man, you're one of the only people who've taken photos of me that I actually likes. I hate looking at myself most of the time. And I don't
Which
mind.
is crazy, the amount of photos you have online.
Oh, man. But he takes pictures. I'm like, man, that looks really good. I feel really good about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
So we became friends.
Mhm.
And he's like, just started following me around,
Yeah.
taking photos of the Urge. And then and I did my first bodybuilding show.
Yeah.
I went in and got some fitness photos with him, and he knocked it out of the park again,
Yeah.
So we just really became close. And then he came up with the idea of taking all those photos and making a book out of it. And from his perspective, though, he's like, I want people to see.
Mhm.
I want people, because you don't know what people are thinking or saying.
Yeah.
Because you're being you. But like
Right.
on my end of things, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So he's like, I want people to.
So
to
he can
know.
write it in a different way where you might humble it down a little bit or water it down. Of
Correct.
like, oh, I was just doing this. But he's
I'm
like,
always going to just do that. So
Yeah.
he's like, I'm going to tell it from a different perspective. So
Yeah.
each photo is going to have a little story.
Yeah.
And
so it's going to be a nice photo book and all
yeah.
that. And what was it called? I know you guys just named it. You guys had
4
a fans
years of flavor.
4 years.
Because he's basically been following me around for 4 years, taking
Okay.
photos of
Yeah.
everything we do, the restaurant,
Yeah.
music, his family. And all
And that's
that
like
kind of stuff.
another thing is like he's hyper passionate about it. He's doing it for
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
And obviously you're hyper passionate about what you're doing. And it's not a transactional thing. It's just
That's
like,
right.
hey, let's get together. And then bringing the community in. So when is that? When's the release date for that?
We're working on for fall, winter.
Okay.
Maybe
You're going to put out a pre-order for it and
fourth
stuff?
quarter. We're going to do
Yeah.
the pre-order for it.
Yeah. And that's what's like having a physical book, man. That's going to be so dope.
Yeah, I'm
And
really
being able to sell
excited
it at the
about that.
restaurant
Yeah,
and-
just to be able to have it. And like I say, this is my man Keith Brake,
Yeah,
because I want people to know about him.
exactly. So
as
he's
well.
writing it then.
So yeah, because he's been like a little secret.
Yeah. And now everybody's going to know about him and they're going to hire him to go do stuff. Yeah.
Yes, but he's so good. He's
Yeah.
like, he's got a knack for it, and he's passionate about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exciting. And then what's the podcast called?
The podcast is a Steve Ewing show.
The Steve Ewing show. Yeah, keeping it simple. That's what ours, STL
Yeah.
Bucket List Show. Not overthinking it, just
Nope.
whatever.
Yep.
And you're going to be doing guest focused stuff on there. You're going to be bringing in people and like hour-long episode, 30 minutes.
Just 30 minutes.
30 minutes, just talking conversations.
Yep.
And weekly or monthly or?
We're going to be doing monthly.
Monthly.
So I imagine, things will evolve as they always do.
Yeah.
But out of the box, we're going to do 30 minutes every month.
Yeah. Until you start loving it and you're like, all right, let's do this every week.
Until we just like,
Yeah. We've done this every week for 118 weeks straight.
That's awesome.
But it's like, it's that thing. It's on my calendar every Tuesday at 3:00 and I never miss it. It's like one of those reoccurring things. It's just like, I have to go no matter what's going on. I have to show up. And sometimes I show up and nobody's here and we just do a solo episode.
That is so cool. I'm into podcasts big time.
Yeah.
But to be on this side of it, it's just really exciting, and
it's
new,
fun to be on
on
the you mean on the interview side, like like interviewing people.
Yeah,
because what's fun about it is like I get to read. I read about you, put some stuff in here, but then I'm not even looking at this anymore, and then you're just in this conversation.
Yep.
But what's cool is like one day I was just telling my wife this is like our daughter can watch these interviews of her parents before we had her while she was pregnant,
right?
And like we're just talking, and they're all on YouTube forever.
Right.
So it's documenting. It's
and if you think about it that way, that's like a gold mine.
Well, even if I never, and I've interviewed people like Nikki Glazer, I've had Tim Parker from the team on, I've had John Jay from the Cardinals on here, and Steve Ewing from the Steve Ewing Duo and the Steve Ewing Podcast and the Steve Ewing. But like even the people that aren't the biggest people in the world and most well known, you have these incredible conversations. And me as a younger business owner, I just like to learn from people. So sometimes I'll pull up an episode. One of the ones that comes to my mind that I listen to is Kevin Limp from Four Hands. And he actually started sponsoring the podcast. Is, some of the stuff he said in there, I'm like, oh, I need to listen to that episode again because I need to get my shit back together because he said
something that
he
really
said something that
connected
hit with
to
me.
you.
And it's not about you. When you're on the other side of it, it's the Steve Ewing show, but you're probably only going to talk for 10 minutes. The other person's going to be talking for 20, 30 minutes, and you have to kind of like knock those walls down. But
that's the key, knocking the wall down to get the conversation started and then get the nuggets.
Yeah, you'll do it more than once a month once you start rolling.
Sweet.
Just a timing thing. But I got one more question for you. The STL Bucket List show. So the STL Bucket List we started in 2019. And really, we were just highlighting the people and places that make St. Louis special. So I want to hear your STL bucket list. So it's not things you want to check off before you die. It's things that you love about the city that you would put on your bucket list, or maybe things that you do with your family that's like every year we always do this, or maybe restaurants that are like, this is my bucket list restaurant spot.
Sure.
So if you have a few that you could give the people.
Man.
So like if, it's ideal day, let's say it's Saturday, it's sunny, nothing's going on. Where are you guys going?
I can tell you, like, I live in Forest Park.
Yes.
I love Forest Park, the art museum, the zoo. Like when Madeline was a kid, we were just in that park for all kinds of reasons.
Yep.
So that's St. Louis's gem, I think.
Yeah.
Like it's
the epicenter of everything.
That's our diamond. That's our piece of gold right there. Is Forest Park.
And now you're going to be right there with the new location.
Yeah, it's so
right
cool,
there,
man. Yep. So Forest Park. Gosh, what are my other?
It could even be like
bucket
places,
list?
like it could even be like venues that you've played at that you really just love, or have like a, like anytime that venue comes up, you're like, oh man, I can't wait to be there.
Yep. So venues, definitely the pageant.
Yeah.
We've been playing there since day one.
Since they opened. Yeah.
Since it opened. So when Pat Hagen left Mississippi Nights and went to the pageant, we've been playing there like day one.
Yeah.
And I've seen a million shows. So yeah, definitely the pageant is
a spot that everybody.
It's a spot. Yeah. So
everybody's been to the pageant for
Yep.
something.
It's
Every
just-
genre of music, and that
it's-
Joe Edwards really created that spot to make it to where every night of the week it's a different crowd there.
Yep. And
You
they take care of the bands. It's just a great place to be at when you're a band too. So the pageant is definitely dope. Gosh, I'm trying to think of some other places that I must go. There's places I go that aren't necessarily in the city.
They could be wherever. I mean, I'm from St. Charles. I mean, the
Right.
foodie spots, like, it could be like some restaurants that you like going to and stuff like that. Date night spots. If
Yep.
you guys have your date night spot, 'cause you're not always eating hot dogs.
No, we're not. We're big. We're big on outdoor stuff when we can.
Yeah.
Get out as a family. So I'm big into the Merrimack River, which is not in the city of St. Louis.
Floating. You guys like float trips?
We like floating, camping.
And you guys will stay in tents and float.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. So Yeah, so being outdoors is a big part
Yeah.
of what we do. Like
I love float trips.
we live, 2 blocks from Tower Grove Park. So like we bought a house there on purpose because we were right next to the park.
Yeah.
So yeah, so being outdoors is a big thing for us.
So anything that's outdoors with family, maybe involves food, maybe doesn't matter. It's just anything just getting together is on your Tower Grove. Living in St. Louis, like I'm actually from Winsville. That's where I grew up at, way out west. And when I moved to South City, I was like, oh, this is different living in the city. But then I lived right by Tower Grove. I'm right on Kings Highway on the other side of the park.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, we just go there. Like, I'm going there right after this to meet my wife, to go shopping at the market, the Tuesday market.
Oh, yeah.
We're just going to go get groceries.
It's awesome.
Because Saturday is too busy. We're like, we live in the city. We know that Tuesday is the best night to go because it's nice. The sun's going down.
Right.
But yeah, like foodie spots. Do you and your wife have a date night spot that you guys like always frequent?
Well, it's not a crazy spot.
Okay.
But we love Lona's.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You been to Lona's?
Oh, yeah. It's not a crazy as far as like a big spending night, but it's like going there, it always hits. And it's always perfect.
The two of us have wonderful conversation there.
Yeah.
We sit down, we grab some food.
Yeah.
We have a couple drinks, whatever, and then we just have a great time at Lona's.
Yeah, that's a good spot. Yeah, there's always that. Like I'm learning that now as becoming a dad is like we have less date nights because we have a newborn. But I'm like when we do have a date night, we're like, all right, we're going to this spot because we always know we have a good time at this spot.
We just have a good time.
Yeah. And it doesn't matter if it's the 5-star dining or if it's just a fast casual spot. Like Lona's is super underrated. I feel like the magazines are talking about it more, but that spot is always so good, dude.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
The locals know all about it.
Oh yeah. So, and they probably want to keep it that way. They're like, chill, we don't need this being mainstream.
Yes.
We don't need this happening like what happened with Steve's Hot Dogs.
We're on South Grand, so I mean
anything on South Grand.
We just have a ton. We have a ton of stuff.
Sheesh is amazing, the Turkish spot over there.
We still haven't done Sheesh yet.
Taro Taco is a good spot for vegans.
Lemongrass.
That new Filipino spot right there.
I know.
Manolino. I haven't been there yet, but one girl on my team said it was unbelievable. She said it was absolutely unbelievable.
Okay,
so you got to go there.
That's where I'm going next. I'm at Weihong all the time just because they have those little barbecue buns.
You guys are starting to have like a little nightlife going on there. I was talking to Kenny's upstairs is down there.
Yes.
That spot is
so glad they came
freaking
in
sick.
there. Like,
that spot is sick.
Because we're trying to bring
late night back.
Because when I first moved back to St. Louis, South Grand was bustling at night till 3 a.m.
Yeah.
We don't want it open till 3 a.m.
You don't want it to be like the party area, but you're like, I want people to be out here till 11, 12 o'clock.
Yeah, exactly.
Because then you're late night out. Because you guys are open pretty late, but sometimes it's like, are we sure we need to open this late? And then it's like...
It's tricky.
It's tricky to try to get it. But yeah, South Grand, and then... that new spot in the Tower Grove Creamery just opened. That's another. It's a lot of like Asian infused, a lot of international foods. I mean, even the international grocery stores.
Poke
you guys,
One, we've been in there a number of times since they've opened. Yeah,
that's amazing. And like your daughter gets to grow up and like go to all these, like try all these foods that in other areas you wouldn't be able to try these.
And
foods.
we can walk to everything. That's what we like about it. So.
That's amazing, dude. Well, Steve, thank you for coming on the show today, man.
Awesome.
I appreciate it.
Glad to be on here. Awesome.
Appreciate it coming. We'll drop the links for your book and all that when it comes out.
Cool.
But yeah, super excited for your guys' growth. I know we didn't talk too much about it, but they got a new location opening up in the Maker District. June 26th is rough weekend.
That's what's rough, yeah.
Yeah, so sometime later this month. And then obviously Meltdown, we didn't talk about, which Meltdown's crushing in the Foundry, great family spot. But yeah, man, super excited. We'll have to talk more and maybe come on your podcast and chop some stuff up, man, and help you guys a little bit. So all right, brother, appreciate it.
Cool, you got it, man.
Today they rep St. Louis, yeah. They rep St. Louis. They rep St. Louis.